Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with parapsychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. Once again, I am working my way through the wonderful, tough questions that were posed to me by our live stream viewers on October 11th. And I'm going to continue. And once again, I'd like to remind those of you who may wish to subscribe to our weekly newsletter that includes all sorts of announcements and previews of our videos, as well as early access to some of our videos. If you're not a subscriber, you can subscribe. You can enroll yourself at no cost by going to the New Thinking Aloud Foundation. New Thinking Aloud, one word, and aloud is spelled A-L-L-O-W-E-D, newthinkingaloud.org. Now, let me return to the questions. Here's one from MA53N, who asks, how do you become more confident, safely share your beliefs in an increasingly powerful panopticon rather than staying quiet? It's a very good question, and I can tell you I suffered from shyness in my younger years. I think it's something that all young people go through, and older people too. The best advice I can give you, and it's something I've focused on earlier in some of the very early InPresence monologues, is about loving yourself. It's about knowing that you are a child of the universe, a spiritual being, a being of infinite worth, no matter what anybody thinks about you. No matter what anybody says about you, no matter what anybody does to you. In fact, no matter what you think about yourself, no matter what you feel about yourself, no matter what you say or what you do, independent of all of your behaviors and everybody else's behaviors with regard to you, you are deserving of love and respect. And if you listen, I think it's InPresence number 2. I go into much greater detail about how you can take that idea and incorporate it into your very being. It's something I learned when I was a trainer for a company called Omega Seminars. We did a 3-day training based on that fundamental idea. We talked about the 3 magic words. I love myself. And that's not, of course, meant in any sort of an egotistical way. Thomas Kafka. Do you believe gray aliens are creating a hybrid race of beings? Well, there's a lot of folklore that would point in that direction. But as a person looking at this through my parapsychological lens, what kind of real concrete evidence do we have? I would give it a low probability. I would say maybe there's a 10% chance that that's true. The Crake asks, have you heard about Ernst, who teaches levitation? I have not. And it sounds fascinating. I do remember this, back in the day, levitation was being taught, or supposedly being taught, by the Maharishi in the Transcendental Meditation Organization. At one time, I had this huge poster showing meditators levitating, and I had friends who were part of that movement, and it was really more about hopping. They learned how to, sit in a lotus position on a mattress and kind of hop up and down. They tried, I think, to establish that this was real levitation. In other words, hovering motionless in midair rather than just bouncing on a mattress. They were unable to do that. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, they've stopped claiming that the TM Cities program, as they called it, would induce levitation. Arlene Hopkins asks, if you are familiar with the work of the artist Hilma Klint, then could you comment on her assertion that, quote, she explained that the pictures were painted through her with, quote, force? Well, Arlene, I'm not familiar with Hilma Klint's artwork, but I am familiar with other artists who believe that they are channeling artwork. I was at one time very close to the Brazilian medium, Luis Gasparetto, back in the 1980s, I guess it would have been. I made a video of him going into trance and creating a series of paintings using oil crayons, as I recall, special artistic crayons. And they were in the style of a number of great artists, Renoir and Degas, and a lot of the great French Impressionists. And they were actually quite convincing. And so there are many examples of artistic creations, music, and even novels and writing and poetry, that the people who produce this work believe that it is being channeled through them, that it is not really their own creation. So I'm familiar with those kinds of claims, and in terms of what would be my assessment of the validity of those claims, I have to say it's undoubtedly a partnership. If you're channeling some other discarnate being, shall we say, it's always going to be in part a partnership of your body-mind system and the influence of the discarnate. That's, I think, the best you can say for it. Arlene asks yet another question. A divine dictation, and this is a quote, I had no idea what they were supposed to depict. I worked swiftly and surely without changing a single brushstroke. Is that consistent with what you know about? And I have to say, yes, I think it is. Brian Rice asks, would you ever consider interviewing Matthew Lacroix? Well, Brian, I have no idea who Matthew Lacroix is, but let me say this. I get a lot of statements like this from viewers. Typically, they post it in the comments section with a name. And when that happens, that name goes on the bottom of a big pile. I really need more information before I can tell you whether or not it's something worth considering. Like, is there a website? Is there a book? Clancer asks, what do you think about the master of the key saying the barrier that prevents us from knowing each other's thoughts will fall? An alien-human hybrid research by, I think he means David Jacobs and Bud Hopkins, represents the future of us. Or I think, no, he's asking, what do I think? The master of the key. I don't know who the master of the key is or what that title represents. The hybrid research, the best I can tell you is that maybe there's a 10% chance that there's something of real importance there. Illo Renalo asks, is Jason Giorgiani your most interviewed person? And can you double the amount? It's up to 35 already. Pretty please. Greetings from Munich, Germany. Yes, Jason has been the single most interviewed person on this channel. And whether or not we double the amount is probably going to depend on how we work out this difference of opinion that we have about the nature of warfare itself. And I shouldn't speak for Jason exactly, but I'm pretty sure his opinion is that humankind progresses through warfare. And my opinion is that humankind can progress very well without it. And here we have Manal A says, how to keep your mind sharp and clear. And what kind of meditation do you practice in your quiet time? You know, I call this series InPresence. because to me, meditation is about being present here and now. And if you're really meditating, you want to be present wherever you are, whatever you're doing, not just when you're sitting cross-legged in your quiet time. And I have practiced many different varieties of meditation. And these days, I just sit quietly when I feel like it. That's all that I practice. And I'm getting older. My mind isn't as sharp as it once was, but I can tell you that doing these interviews, reading all the books that I have to read to keep up with the guests, is how I keep my mind sharp and clear to the extent that I do. Jip Atkinson says, could you do a psychic experiment once a month? Maybe have a physical picture and we send in what we think it is. Well, I could do that, but I don't know that I want to, Jip, because this isn't really a program about training your psychic abilities or demonstrating psychic abilities or proving it, or there are other places you can go to for that. This is about thinking, understanding, new thinking aloud. So, but I'll take your idea into consideration. We did, after all, have an online spoon bending party about 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago or so. In fact, Dan asks, Dan 020350, maybe that was his date of birth, asks, did you manage to bend the spoon or fork after interviewing with Sean McNamara in July? And the answer is, no, I didn't. Kugai says, do you think the government continues to use psychics for intelligence work? Great question. And my best understanding is that there are individuals within the government who probably are doing that on their own. I'm not aware of any government programs. If there are any government programs, I suspect they are kept deeply under wraps at this point, which might be smart considering all the controversy that they tend to engender. But I am not aware of any. And before I go, let me leave you with a question, because I'll be taking more questions, I believe, for a long time. What if you could ask the most difficult question, the one that vexes you the most? What would that be? I'll leave you with that thought, and thank you for being with me.